name of Dorothy Parker's like reviews. Basically, it's like a Dorothy Parker thing. So when they released a collection of her essays and like literary criticisms, I think that's what it is. I haven't read it yet. They released this hat, and so I, of course, got it along with the book. I also really wanted the ex-wife one, but I didn't know if Jesus would like to walk around with me with an ex-wife hat on.
Oh, right.
I just think it's funny.
That is funny, but right. I couldn't wear it with the bow because he'd be like, "You are not my ex-wife."
Wouldn't Larry be like, "I don't know how I feel about this"?
Exactly. He'd be like, "This is sending the absolute wrong message."
They also have one for Rent Boy, which is one of the titles that they
I want to
published.
read Rent Boy so badly.
So I guess if I got ex-wife and gave him Rent Boy, it would be really funny if we walked around.
Oh my. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Welcome to TBR Lowdown. Hello. Happy Friday. We're recording on a Friday.
Very early. Well, I think for a normal person this isn't early, but for me it's early. Right. So
I mean, for me, with my new schedule, this is late.
No, it's so early. I usually get up sometime between now and 11. Like I like this hour is usually when I wake up. So
right, because now you're on the nights. It's like we are two ships passing, right? So like I get home from work yesterday like at 3:30, and then like a few minutes later you're like, I'm off to work.
They're weird hours, like in terms of what normal people do, but they don't feel as weird as full overnights.
Yeah,
because I can do so much. Somebody said to me that when they worked like this, it felt like they were living like 2 days, and I guess it does kind of feel like that, or something to that effect. It kind of feels like I have my home time where I do stuff, and then I go to work, and I have my work time, and then I go to bed, and it is almost like I've lived 2 days in that day, and like
that is not so funny though.
It's not exhausting, weirdly, like it was when you flipped it the other way and tried to force stuff after work. For me, at least, it doesn't feel as exhausting.
Yeah.
But
yeah, welcome to Adulting 5.0, because we're old. So there.
Yeah. This weekend will be my first alone shift, and because there's only 2 of us that work at night, and so that means that sometimes you're alone.
Yeah.
So I have my first weekend alone. So we'll see
how that
goes. Mean, it is what it is. I work 5 days and then I go see you. So I will just get through it.
Exactly. So, actually, for our long-term listeners, they know that Alyssa comes to Northern Virginia to visit me, and I take her on a serious book crawl. We just have a great time. So she is coming to visit me soon, and we picked the perfect weekend, not just because we're going to be able to catch that James Baldwin exhibit like on the last day that it's at the museum, but also because it's Easter weekend. Like there's no track for like nothing's happening. There's nothing conflicting, so it's great.
Excellent. Oh, and everything should be like still open, and the hotel was cheaper this year.
Yeah. And you're closer, closer to me. Not that you were too far away in the hotel from me last year. It was like a 10-minute drive. Like this is going to be like a 4-minute drive. Like I could walk to the hotel if I wanted to. So I'm excited.
I'm very excited. I have obviously all the books that are on my Pango that will come off my Pango and go to McKay's.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the pile and I'm like, it's such a small pile. I feel like I could do better than this.
I'm going to have to, like, I've got a couple of books on the floor over here where I've been throwing books in that I intend to take to McKay. So I've got to like really solidify all of that probably this weekend. I won't have time during the week, so I've got to solidify that between today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be like a huge lot like we normally would take to McKay, you and I. Like, usually it's massive.
I don't think I'm gonna have anything massive. I think I've done that so many times now that like I'm out of that.
Yeah, same,
You know?
same.
But we'll see. We'll see what I come away with.
Yeah,
Sometimes I just
yeah.
get really you know, vicious and I just start culling things from the
Right, right. I think we're both very, very good at that.
yeah.
Like, out, you're done.
There's like a small stack of stuff I think for my nonfiction shelves that I can probably part with. But
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
anyway.
got some work to do. So anyway, folks, welcome again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing? Let us know how your year's been going. Comment and just let us know. How's 2025 going for you? Hopefully you're still gainfully employed. And I mean that with all seriousness. And hopefully you're finding ways to
Cope.
enjoy pockets of joy wherever you can.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, what have you been reading lately, or what have you recently finished?
First, I have to finish this yawn. Sorry. I feel like when we do these when I'm really tired and I watch them back on video, I look so rude because like I will like space out. And then I'll be like, "Hey, Naomi." And I don't think you'll notice them when you're like in the podcast, but like if
Right.
you watch me, like sometimes the sleepy hits me, man. All right. Anyway, so I started to, I guess, go with the McNally theme. Daddy's Gone a Hunting by Penelope Mortimer. And first, can I just say that the McNally book, like as an object,
Yeah,
it is probably one of like the nicest hand feels for reading. Like it's not floppy, but it's got like one of those spines that doesn't like crack. Like it's got like a nice spine. The paper's smooth. It's that slightly skinnier, slightly taller size. So I feel like it just fits in the hand really nicely.
Yeah. I'm sorry, can you hold that up? Because that cover is like, oh, I love it. Very artistic.
And also like beautiful as objects, but whoever does the art direction is just does a great job. But anyway, so I picked this up on a trip to the city with a bunch of my book friends from, and I am really enjoying this. So this is just, where is the, here we go. So a suburban housewife, Ruth Whitting, is, quote, paralyzed by triviality. And I really liked that phrasing of this. So you have this housewife, she had a child very young. She kind of accidentally got pregnant and she's married to this man, Rex, who is awful. But it's like the 50s. It's like 1958. She's got obviously an older daughter because she had a child really young.
Right.
All her other friends are in like a different sort of, and I guess I can use the term friends like maybe a little bit loosely. But they're in a different phase of their lives because they didn't get married super young because they were pregnant, right? She's got a son at like Oxford or whatever, and some things are happening with her daughter, and like things are mirroring, like lives are mirroring lives, and like she's miserable in this existence as this 50s housewife, like going through the trivialities of her day, like. So you'll have like plotty chapters, and then you'll have these like really kind of literary reflective chapters where you get more of the internal space of Ruth and how she's feeling about everything that's happening, like her looking out a window at all of the men going out in their business suits, and then later all of the wives going out and doing whatever the wives do, and how it's like all the same things every day, and she's just exhausted, right? So like this is, you know, the 1950s wife with the Valium, you know, like you cannot have these lives. So it's really interesting. And then having this relationship, she has a very good relationship with her daughter, and she's helping her daughter try to navigate not being stuck in like the same situation that she's in. So it's very interesting, and definitely deals with some controversial things, probably for like the mid to late 50s in the UK, and probably in particular in the UK. I don't know. We're pretty puritanical here, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying this. It's my first Penelope Mortimer. I won't be my last. I really like the writing. I really like that pulling back between the like plotty external and like the more like reflective internal scenes. I think that it's a really does she balances it really well for the story, and I really truly enjoy it. So I would highly recommend picking this up. Here, I'll read from here. The first stage of the nightmare is losing the ability to believe in insignificance. Consciousness is sharpened to a point in which nothing is trivial, but every moment, every detail has the same unbearable quality of dread. In this condition of despair, there are two crises. The merciful censor of memory has broken down, and everything is recalled with equal horror. The broken nail becomes a jagged pointer to the senselessness of living. The most commonplace remark releases, without warning, the grief or terror of a lifetime. But still, the days pile up, one on top of the other, in an orderly fashion. The weeks are marked by a red Sunday, and the months have names. It is necessary to eat and sleep. It is necessary to prepare for the future, even if this is only done by drawing in breath, so that it may in a moment be exhaled and breathed again. The moral moment delivered in this state of unhappiness is as severe as that pronounced on the lunatics of Bedlam. Lost, it says, with smug disgust, all sense of proportion, which is exactly true. So I really enjoy this.
I like how all of that sounds. You know, hello.
Oh.
Add that to the mental list. Fantastic, fantastic.
And don't mind the dogs.
They're my cousins. All right. Are they making an appearance? Are they visiting?
They're in the guest room behind me barking at each other.
Oh, they're playing. That's nice.
Siblings. No, I think Alfie wants on the daybed, and I'm sure that Mercy's not letting him.
Oh, a little fight, a little tisk, a tisk. Well, I recently read Tropic of Cancer by Henry Miller. It's been a book I've wanted to read for a long time, and it's one of the best books. It's one of those books, right? It's one of those books. It's like one of the best books that's ever been written or whatever. It's a very short book. It's under 300 pages. We're and I think this is autofiction, in novel form. We're with a guy in his 30s, and he's an American expat living in Paris. He's living in squalor. He has no money, but he's happy. He feels free. He is married, but his wife did not come with him to Paris. She stayed in America, and he is trying to make it as a writer in Paris. And much of this feels like, a life adventure story or whatever. This this book is full of like philosophical musings, which sometimes are really interesting, sometimes really draw you in. But also, much of this book is following this character just wanted to screw and bang everything walking. And he is not kind in his words about women. This has got to be a novel that's thrown around the C word, C-U-N-T word, like the most. You can't go 10 pages without him calling a woman a C. And there's nothing really happening in this book. You're just like following his life in Paris for a year. I wouldn't say it's exciting or thrilling by any means, so don't expect that. But I found myself incredibly bored. I was, and not because nothing happens. I was bored because it's one of those books where how many times do I have to hear about your sexual escapades? I was very bored of it. And they weren't they weren't sexual escapades that were written in a way that were like full of desire or like, you know, really sexy. It was just effing gross. Okay? It was effing gross, and I was very bored, and I was also very sick of this character. Every time he talked about whatever, I just kind of rolled my eyes. Every time he saw a beautiful woman, I just kind of rolled my eyes. Every time he had a sexual escapade, I kind of rolled my. I was just very much over him. But there are these little small pockets of when, for instance, when he's going on and on about, you know, the beauty of his wife and their marriage. But then you'll get to this part where he says, in the midst of his reveries, he suddenly arrests himself, and grabbing my arm excitedly, he points to a well of a woman who was just lowering herself into a seat. There's my Danish cunt, he grunts. See that ass? Danish. How that woman loves it. She just begs me for it. Come over here. Look at her now. From the side, look at that ass, will you? It's enormous. I tell you, when she climbs over me, I can hardly get my arms around it. It blots out the whole world. She makes me feel like a little bug crawling inside her. I don't know why I fall for her. I suppose it's that ass. It's so incongruous like. And the creases in it. You can't forget an ass like that. It's a fact, a solid fact. The others, they may bore you, or they may give you a moment's illusion, but this one, with her ass, zowie, you can't obliterate her. It's like going to bed with a monument on top of you. This is what much of this book is written like, and it's very tiresome. It's very tiresome. Zowie. Zowie. Very tiresome. Now, a few interesting facts, right? Because this book, I guess, no, I don't guess. It was important for its time, and here's why. So I got to go to my notes now. It was published in 1934 in Paris. And however, it was considered too explicit for the United States, so it was banned in the U.S. It was banned in the U.S. from 1934 to 1961 until Grove Press published it in the U.S. This book faced over 60 lawsuits in 21 states, ruling the book was too obscene. The Supreme Court overturned these decisions in 1964, saying that the book was not obscene and it was protected by the First Amendment. That was Macaulay versus Tropic of Cancer in 1963. So in that regard, this book is important. I mean, Henry Miller is like pushing the boundaries, in 1934. That's a very repressed moment. So he's pushing the boundaries of what books can do, what they can write about, what they can say. So I do think that whole thing is important. But if we're reading this now and thinking about where we are now, do we look at this book in that same light? I don't know. Am I going to recommend this book to anyone? I'm not. Look, read the synopsis and figure it out yourself. I'm not going to recommend this to anyone. I'm just sharing my experience with the people. And it made my head hurt. And but I'm glad I read it. The other thing is, this is so weird, and I hate when this happens to me because now I'm in a freaking rabbit hole. This made me want to know more about Henry Miller. Like, if this is somewhat auto fiction, is this who you are as a guy, or are you the complete opposite? And so now I've got to watch all these interviews because I got to know. Like, I need to know, and I also want to know more about what his positioning was and his thinking was when he wrote this book. So, as much as this book was like sometimes a yawn and very annoying because of the disgusting, language around women. Also, the N-word was thrown around very casually. Just an N-word here or N-word there. And
just, the 30s, so you just sprinkle a few.
Just sprinkle a few of those N-words in there. But I'm still on this rabbit hole, although I did not love this book. So that's where I am with it. Tropic of Cancer by Henry Miller. If you have read this book, please, please, please share your thoughts with me on this. Please.
I've wanted to read that just to know what all the fuss is about, but now I'm good. I don't think I need to.
Again, yeah, I'm not going to recommend it. I'm just sharing my thoughts.
My thoughts are, I'm good.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah.
What are we here for?
Well, today We're gonna.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm really trying to be perky. I'm so like even I can hear how flat that sounds.
Sometimes I give a little extra perkiness when you're tired. Today we're going to
Yeah.
share some of our anticipated summer releases with you all. So I can't believe it. Like April's here. This year's going by quickly. It's going by quickly. But there seems to be a lot coming out this summer. I think it's going to be
There
like
is a
a
lot.
heavy release summer.
There is a lot, and I feel like June was really. I had to like stretch out my choices to try to get through June, July, August because I feel like I filled up with June. I was like,
July was a
okay,
lot for me.
I was like,
Yeah.
spread this ish out. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I did that. But yeah, we have our slides. I'm gonna get myself pumped to go, and we can do this.
We can
Woo! Oh my
do
God.
it.
All right, so I think I have the first one.
Okay.
This is Lily is Crying by Helene Bisset. This is translated from French by a person whose name I did write down. I want to say her name is Karen. Hold on. Sorry, Kate Briggs, not Karen. I just had K in the head, and there we go. Anyway, so this is actually, I have two books that are actually kind of like republished books, but this is the first time it's been translated into English. So this was originally published in French in the 1950s and it was just translated to English, like I said. It's an experimental novel that challenges traditional narrative conventions. It's got fragmented prose, all things that I love. And it tells the story of a girl named Lily and her mother exploring themes of childhood trauma, maternal relationships, and domestic upheaval. Again, more stuff I love. So apparently Bisset is often called the lost great writer of French literature. So I need to know what that's about. She is a modernist, and we know I love modernists. So this is like right up my alley. And yes, that cover is absolutely like to die for.
Yes, it is.
So I have to. So this is out on June 3rd from New Directions, and I'm really loving New Directions.
They're such a great publisher.
Yeah, I like.
Oh my gosh.
I need more things from New Directions.
Yeah. So good.
Okay. So that's my first one. So now we have you.
All right. Yay. It's Not the End of the World by Jonathan Parks Ramage. I don't know. But shout out to this author. He slid into my DMs and asked me if I wanted to receive an ARC. I did read his debut novel, Yes, Daddy, which was really good. So I'm excited to get into this one. He seems like a really cool guy. I'd love to have some coffee with him. But so It's Not the End of the World. And it says it's 2044 and life is bleak for many Americans, but not for Mason Daunt. Safe in his Los Angeles mansion, Mason can remain blissfully unaware of the relentless wildfires engulfing California, the proliferation of violent right-wing militias, and the rampant authoritarianism destroying American society. He's so rich, in fact, that he and his partner, Junko Kim, are throwing a 100-person, $100,000 baby shower to celebrate their newborn on the way. When a potentially apocalyptic event hits Los Angeles on the day of their celebration, though, the wealthy gay couple refuses to cancel their party. Surely it's not the end of the world. But as Mason runs a few last-minute errands, a staggering twist thrusts him into the mounting chaos and threatens the lives of everyone he holds dear. And this comes out June 10th. No, I'm sorry, June 3rd from Bloomsbury. So thank you, Jonathan, so much. I'm going to be reading this, starting this tomorrow, so I'm excited about it. Yep. Thank you.
I really love the cover on that one.
The cover is great.
It's a good one. There's some good covers in this mix.
Yeah.
I feel like I've talked about this before, but I don't care. We're going to put it on here again. It's The Dry Season by Melissa Fabos. And then the subtitle of this is A Memoir of Pleasure in a Year Without Sex. So I really loved Girlhood, and I want more. I just want more from Melissa Fabos. So this is in the wake of a catastrophic 2-year relationship. Phoebos decided to take a break. She would abstain from dating and relationships and sex for 3 months. Her friends think it's funny, but it ends up sort of turning into a much longer thing. And these are the reflections that she has on this period of time. And she delves into things like questions about identity, sexuality, the ways that we like nurture ourselves, spiritual, and like how do we get through spiritual, like times of spiritual and literal like drought and stuff. So yeah, I'm bringing her own. So here's a sentence that like, because I'm already like just from these references,
Yeah.
bringing her own experiences into conversation with those women throughout history, from 11th century mystic Hildegard von Bingen, I said wrong, Virginia Woolf, and Octavia Butler, to the Shakers and Sappho. Phoebos situates her story within a newfound lineage of role models who unapologetically pursue their ambitions and ideals. Like, you had me at Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I am very curious to see what this is all about. Like, I need to read this yesterday.
Yes.
So
It does sound
yeah,
good. That
doesn't
really
it?
does.
And I will tell you, every time it's come up on a Knopf list, I'm like, please. And they're like, no.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
it's fine. I will just use my money.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just think it's funny, like the things that you get and the things that you don't. You're like,
or or
really
you
want
think you're not going to get something, but they end up sending you a final copy later.
I'll get
That
some
happens a
giant
lot
PR
too.
box. Some
Yeah,
giant PR box will show up in my mail.
exactly, exactly. It's so random. I love it.
So this is also out June 3rd, and it's obviously out from Knopf. So anyway,
Yeah.
next is you.
Yay! A Murder for Miss Hortense by Mel Pennant. Thank you, Pantheon, for sending me this advanced copy. This sounded exciting to me. Retired nurse, avid gardener, and renowned cake maker, Miss Hortense has lived in Biggleswade, a quiet suburb of Birmingham, England, since she immigrated from Jamaica in 1960. It says 35 years of nursing have also left her afraid of nobody, whether a local drug dealer or an interfering priest, and she's an expert at deciphering other people's secrets just at a glance. She's used her skills to benefit the Partner Network, a local group of Black investors that she helped fund. Until that, as she was unceremoniously ousted from its ranks, severing her ties to the majority of her friends and community. That was 30 years ago. Now, as a new millennium dawns, an unidentified man has been found dead in one of the partner members' homes. And so she sets off to find out who the murderer is. First of all, I love me a good mystery with a, older Black lady. I'm always here for that. And this just sounds like it's going to be a little romp. So I'm very excited to read A Murder for Miss Hortense. And this is out on June 10th from Pantheon. Thanks again, Pantheon. Let me just say something about Pantheon. They are really good to me, and they publish a lot of books that I have a great joy reading. So they have quickly become one of my top 10 favorite publishers. They don't disappoint.
I didn't read any of the blurbs for any of your books. Because like, why would I? It was 2 a.m. I was tired.
Hello, yeah.
I when I made these slides. But I I love that. Yeah, I don't know if I can think of off the top of my head many like modern nurse mystery like stories. And I think that that's perfect. Like, no, you will not be afraid of anything after 35 years.
Exactly. Exactly. You have seen it all.
Sit down.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that sounds lovely. It really does sound great. That sounds like just like a relaxing read.
It does. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
So next is, because we know I love Leonora Carrington. So this is another sort of like reprint. So this was first published in so this is The Stone Door by Leonora Carrington. If nobody knows what I'm talking about, I should probably announce what the book is. I know, it's great. That's one of her paintings. I am
Wow.
obsessed with this woman. So this is the first published in 1977 and is billed as a surrealist masterpiece. Um, it is one of her most ambitious literary achievements. And I think that this is sort of a reference around her relationship with one of her husbands. So
Mm.
this follows the journey of a young woman named Elizabeth through multiple dimensions and dreamlike landscapes as she searches for her friend Anna. In a mysterious parallel world, Elizabeth encounters shape shifting, that's hard for me to say apparently, creatures, alchemic symbols, and ancient rituals that challenge her understanding of reality. It's written when she's during the time where she lived in Mexico and draws heavily on Celtic mythology, Kabbalah, and Mexican folk traditions. It's labyrinthine. It's filled with lots of symbolic imagery. It
Mm.
explores the themes of transformation, female friendship, and the boundaries between physical and spiritual worlds. I feel like this is just going to be such a head trip.
Yes.
And I'm here for it. Okay, written at the end of World War II, but not published until 77, which is interesting. So if you know anything about Leonora Carrington, in like during World War II, she ends up being institutionalized against her sort of will and like drugged and all this stuff in Spain, and she ends up like getting out, and then her parents are trying to send her to South Africa, and instead of going to South Africa, she ends up like escaping while she's in Portugal, like waiting, like they're trying to get her to like a boat. She escapes and like
What?
flees to the Mexican embassy and finds this man that she knew through Picasso, and then he marries her. He's like a Mexican diplomat or something like that, and he marries her, and that she like escapes with Peggy Guggenheim, her ex lover Max Ernst. Like she has a
Are you
fascinating life.
serious?
No, she has a fascinating life. Anyway,
Oh my
this is
gosh.
written in a period where she is like kind of unstable. Anyway, so it's one at once the stone door is at once a celebration of the union of Carrington and her husband. I know I read that somewhere. The Hungarian-born photographer Cheeky Wise or something, Weissz, and an argument for the unification of the male and female as a means of liberating the human race. So she marries this other guy and gets to like Mexico, and then eventually they divorce because like that was never like that wasn't the thing. It was, they were friends, right? There wasn't.
Yeah.
And then she ends up marrying somebody else and they have two kids and like she has a decently lovely, really, life for the rest of her life. She's fascinating. She's really interesting.
Um is she the one you talked about a book? What was it? The hearing test? Is that
Mm-hmm.
her?
The Hearing
Okay, right.
Trumpet. The
Yes,
Hearing
yes, yes.
Trumpet.
I remember you talking about that on the show. Yeah.
I read her memoir last night. It's very short. It's like it's like 50 pages. And there is also, I have a short story collection somewhere. That's what my brain is trying to recall. So all of them I think are from NYRB, but her paintings are phenomenal. As you can see from the cover of this, if you're watching the video, if you like sort of surrealist painting, if you
Yeah.
don't, then you're not going to like it. They're wacky and trippy, and yeah, so she's got a really interesting life. She was a big part of the surrealist movement in France pre-war. Anyway, yeah,
That
that's Leonora
is
Carrington.
really wow, that's really interesting. That sounds
She's a super interesting person.
yeah, I mean, right. I mean, I guess like if you like Salvador Dali, which I do, you would
Hmm.
from looking at the cover of this book, you'd like her work as well.
And then there's things like all the triangles in this. Now that I've read her memoir,
Yeah.
like I think like there's something about the triangle in her, and then there's learning like I think it's interesting that surrealist paintings, at least, is like when you start to know a little bit more about sort of the background of something, the person, the thing they're capturing,
Mhm.
whatever. There's all these like almost like little clues and little things, little Easter eggs in the
Right.
painting. So they're just fascinating. Like they're like to my brain, it's fascinating.
Wow.
So yeah.
Very interesting sounding.
So this is out on June 17th. I don't remember if I said that. I'm sorry, June 15th, from NYRB. And I will be snagging myself a copy because I require it for my collection of Leonora Carrington as I slowly make my
Absolutely.
way through. Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
It's so fun when we find an author where we just want to read everything that they've written.
Right.
So fun. Maybe we'll
Hmm.
do another episode. Have we done an episode about that? I can't remember.
I feel like we may have. I can't recall, but we could
Yeah.
go through some people we're working through.
Yeah, because I'm back into my Lahiri bag right now.
You know,
So
I've got a large stack of lady writers I'm working through.
yeah.
So,
Exciting.
yeah.
Okay.
So
What's
next is
next?
you.
Okay.
This one I'm very interested in.
Yes, this is Chilco by Daniela Catrillo. And this is translated from the Spanish by Jacob Edelstein. And okay. It says it's a near future fable about love, life, and friendship in a world that's coming apart. Um, Pascal's partner Marina grew up in the vertical slums of Capital City, a place scarred by centuries of colonialism and now the ravages of feckless developers. Every day, the couple fear a sinkhole will open up and take with it another poor neighborhood, another raft of desperate refugees from the hinterlands. The indigenous, the poor, who are toiling for an all consuming machine that is devouring the earth from beneath their feet. When they finally flee the collapsing city to live in Chilco, are they escaping from the crushing weight of centuries of colonial repression that have gone eroded, that have eroded indigenous memories, language, and culture, or are they merely stepping into a twisted, lush new version of it? Like this was like hands down, yes, it's already pre-ordered. I'm reading this. I'm so excited. This comes out on July 15th from FSG Originals. FSG is one of those other publishers that really, you know, publishes weird, strange, super interesting reads. They're also
Yeah,
one that very rarely disappoints. I like FSG a lot.
I like FSG. I like Hogarth.
Yes, Hogarth kills it.
New
They really do.
Directions.
Yeah,
There's a lot of good ones.
there
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
Anyway, so next I have one. And you've got a couple actually.
I have them
So this is
pre-ordered.
So this is Maggie or a Man and a Woman Walk into a Bar by Katie Yee. And this is out from Summit Books on July 22nd. And this is a darkly comic debut novel about a woman named Maggie who finds herself trapped in an endless loop of meeting the same man in different bars across New York City. She also finds out that she has like breast cancer, and she ends up naming the tumor Maggie. And she turns this horrible diagnosis into sort of like something to sort of joke about, to find, I guess, comfort. So unfolding in fragments over the course of the ensuing months, Maggie or a Man and a Woman walk into a bar follows the narrator as she embarks on a journey of grief, healing, and reclamation. She starts talking to Maggie, the tumor, getting acquainted with her body's new inhabitant. She's overly um, gen- her over generously create what? She
Uh-oh.
overgenerously creates a guide to my husband, a user's manual for Maggie and the other woman, hoping to ease the process of discovering her ex-husband's whims and quirks. She turns her children's bedtime stories into retellings of Chinese folklore passed down by her own mother in an attempt to make them fall in love with their shared culture or maybe save herself in the
Mm.
process. So I see it's got like reference, like it's been comp to Crying at H Mart, which I love.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just sounded like it would be sort of funny,
Yeah.
but also poignant. And I like that mix in a
Absolutely.
book. So yeah, that's Maggie. You
Absolutely.
were a man and a woman walk into a bar. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because when I was going through, first I went through my pre-orders to see what I could add, and I don't know, I was like, Alyssa might have this one. So I left it off. Sometimes I get a feeling like, oh no, I think Alyssa might talk about this one, so skip to the next one.
Yeah, I always do more than we say. I was like, Naomi, I have my 7. I know we said 5, but I have
Yeah,
alternates.
yeah. Well, I think back in our early days of TBR Lowdown, we would not share our list with each other ahead of time. And that's
Yeah.
when we run into the duplicates. But now we do it this way, which is much better.
Yeah, it's much better. I was like, I
Yeah,
have backups should I require them, so I don't have to go like dipping back into the
exactly.
research and find stuff.
Exactly. Plus I like
So
the graphics that you do for them. So that's fun.
cute. Anyway, next is you.
Yes. Okay. This is Blood Slaves. Oh, I said saves, didn't I? In my note. Sorry. That was my
It's
bad.
all right.
Blood
That just sent me
Slaves.
down. That sent me down a Jesus
The
route that I
wrong.
didn't know. I didn't know I was gonna go down, and it's fine.
It was late. I was tired. That's my bad. This is Blood Slaves by Marcus Redman. And the who is this? Penguin Random House. They say this is for readers of Victor Laval, Tanana Reeve Dew, and Colson Whitehead. All 3 of my favorites. So we'll see if they're correct, because sometimes I don't believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. It says, in the province of Carolina, 1710, freedom seems unattainable for Willie, for his beloved Gertie, and their unborn child. They live, suffer, and toil under the brutal master, James Big Jim Barrow, whose grand plantation was built by the blood, sweat, and tears of the enslaved. To flee this hell on earth is to be hunted and killed, until one strange night, Willie is offered a dark hope by Rafazi, an enigmatic slave on the irresistible and blood-chilling path to liberation. I think this is going to give us some magical realism, and I'm very excited about it. This seems extremely interesting, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this. This is one of my pre-orders, and this comes out July 29th from Defina. What's next?
Got it.
And also, if you're watching the video, if you're not watching the video, check out the cover of Blood Slaves, because it's pretty horrific looking and makes you kind of excited to dig into the story.
It looks like something. It looks like a tour cover, honestly.
Oh my gosh! You know what? Yes, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. Yep. So next, speaking of covers, just so you know, this one I found so striking. I know it's simple, but like so striking.
Well, there's another cover for this book that's illustrated, and I don't like it at all. This cover speaks to me in volumes. You know what I mean? The illustrated one is pretty, but it didn't grab my attention like when I saw this one.
Yeah, this one's really nice.
Yeah. This is Lonely Crowds by Stephanie Wambugu. And I've never heard of this author, but I'm so excited to read this book. Ruth, an only child of recent immigrants of New England, lives in an emotionally cold home and attends the local Catholic girls' school on a scholarship. Maria, a beautiful orphan whose Panamanian mother dies by suicide and is taken care of by an ill, unloving aunt, is one of the only other students attending the school on a scholarship. Ruth is drawn forcefully into Maria's orbit, and they fall into an easy yet intense friendship. Her devotion to her charming and bright new friend opens up her previously sheltered world. I love a book about a friendship. And I don't know, like I can't wait to read this story. I feel like as much as I love books about female friendships in particular, I want to read more of them, and I feel like I don't often see them. So I'm very excited for this one. And this comes out July 23rd from Little Brown and Company.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
This is our last one, I think. I don't think we have any more. I think you did yours.
So. Mm-hmm.
So this is, a lot of it is a cover by, so this is The Hounding by Zenobi Purvis. It has a bunch of sight hounds. I couldn't tell you if they were whippets or greyhounds. I would need to see them in context. They look like greyhounds, but I don't know how tall they are. Anyway, on the cover, and that already just that sucks, man.
Yes, so obviously.
So this is a Haunting Davy novel. set against the backdrop of 19th century rural England. A young woman becomes increasingly obsessed with tracking down a mysterious black dog that seems to appear before tragic events. It draws on British folklore and Gothic traditions.
Mm.
Um, so I think what was happening is like girls are turning into dogs. Uh,
Mm.
like, okay. Um, So it's supposed to challenge the reader to question the nature of reality while offering a compelling meditation on loss, family inheritance, and the power of belief. Um,
Wow.
Even before the rumors of the Mansfield girls begin, Little Nettlebad is a village steeped in the uncanny, from strange creatures that wash up on the riverbank to portentous ravens gathering on the roofs of people about to die. But when the villagers start hearing barking and one claims to see the Mansfield sisters transform before his eyes, the allegations spark fascination and fear like nothing has before. Like, yeah, I need to know what this
Okay.
is about. It's a parable about the pleasures and perils of female defiance. Like, I mean, there's so many in here.
Wow. That
So many things
sounds
in here.
good.
The hounding considers whether in any age it might be safer to be a dog than an unusual young girl.
Interesting.
I mean, come on.
Yes.
And it has
Yes,
Sighthounds on the
absolutely.
cover. Yeah.
It's great.
So those are our anticipated reads for the summer.
Yeah. Summer's gonna be a lot. I was looking at my pre-orders and I was like, holy crap, you've got quite a few. I got quite a few pre-orders going from actually I have like three in April, but I got quite a few in going from June all the way to like October.
I stopped with like May, so now I have to put in my other half of the year stuff. So
Yeah.
there, there will be books. There will be blood. There will be books.
Yeah.
Um,
I've been
yeah.
doing a lot of pre-orders with People's Bookstore, which is a new meaning they opened up like a year or two ago.
Mm.
They're in Tacoma Park, Maryland, and I love that store. It is highly curated. I mean, the first time I went in there, I was like, "Who does the curation? Who does it? Let me talk to you right now. Let me give you your flowers right now because it's perfection." You know that I like going into a bookstore and not recognizing anything. I mean, there were like maybe a handful of
Yeah.
books that I recognized, but like for the most part, I was like, never seen you. Like that was great. I had the best time. So a lot of times I now like pre-order through them.
Yeah, I don't
So
like one of the reasons I don't like going to Barnes and Noble is because it's like I've seen everything 1,000 times
yeah.
or I own it.
Yes.
Like there's like I could just shop here
Right.
for
Exactly.
free.
For free. Exactly. Exactly. So Barnes and Noble is one of those places where, like, if we're bored, Caleb and I would go in there and just walk around, and then I just point out all the books I got from publishers. Like, oh, I was sent that. I was,
Kind of
but like, there's nothing else.
kind of do the same thing, but it'd be like Jesus being like, "Oh, I want this book," and I'm like, "Don't! I already own it. It's on the
Right.
shelves."
Right.
Oh, we need this. No, we have it. It's on the
Right.
shelves. Just remember when
Exactly.
we get home, I'll give it to you.
That's right. That's right. Oh, I love it so much. I love it.
Mhm.
Is it a book recommendation time?
It is book recommendation time. Would you like me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. Um, I don't think that I've talked about this as a finished book. If I have, you're getting it again.
And that's that, Missy.
And that's it, because I have the hardest time picking books to recommend. And that's Jane Austen's Bookshelf, a rare
Oh,
book collector's quest to find the women writers who shaped a legend. This is by Rebecca Romney. This was phenomenal. I
really?
Buddy read this with a bunch of people. There are some books in here I really would like to read that she references. I would like to be a rare book dealer. Like I love this. So
I'm sorry. Just hang on one moment. Hang on. Hang on. You said I would like to be a rare books dealer, and like for a flash, I could see you doing that. Like it popped in my head so fast. It's like, yes, you could. Yes,
I
you
would love
absolutely could. Oh
I
my
would
goodness.
absolutely love to like hunt down books. I used to when I was really young. And this is how I found that like I actually have a Vita Sackville West short story collection from like the 30s maybe on my shelves. I used to when I was much younger, like I mean like teenager, my aunts and my mom and I, we would go antiquing all the time. I love a good antique. I love a good rummage. I used to buy so many used books, like old books. Like I have so many like tattered poetry collections,
Yeah.
just like old books like around the house. And I need to do more of that.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything special. Um, but I do love like I love a good rummage
Yes.
through old books. Like
Hmm.
old books. I mean like the yeah. So
Dusty, musty,
this
old.
brought back all of those like
Wow.
childhood rummaging feelings because this is a really great blend of like historical narrative about these women authors that
Hmm.
Jane Austen was reading who shape her as an author, but also about the author, Rebecca Romney, her experience as a reader, as a rare book dealer, as
Yeah.
a person who dabbles in this space. So, you know, you're talking about she's giving you like little drips of what is the industry like, the phrasing, how does it work, how does
Mm.
rare book dealing function, but then you're also finding out about the lives of these really wonderful women, and I just think it's a really great blend of that more personal narrative and the historical narrative. And it's really interesting, like there's things that are like kind of common themes that I would like to sort of explore more, this idea of how, you know, like men go to school, right? Like men are being educated, men are something, like they're being shaped in some way. But you
Yeah.
have these like equally great women throughout time who aren't being educated. But like even like an Edith Wharton. Edith Wharton didn't go to school.
Mm.
Um, Edith Wharton didn't, you know, get a college education and a master's in fine arts and all this other stuff, right? But she has written
Yeah.
starting in
And we,
at 40 years old,
it's
writing some
amazing, right?
amazing books that are like part of, you know, the canon of American literature,
Yep.
of classic American literature. And I just find it very interesting how common this theme is of like women sort of learning through just like not osmosis, but like they're learning through reading and they're learning through like letter writing, diary writing,
Yeah.
all this other like education sort of adjacent stuff. Like they're self-taught, right? Or
Yes.
they're like a lot of the commonalities are like you're born into a family that is very literary, so you're exposed to a lot of ideas and concepts, even if you're not being taught them specifically. They're not like trying to create that in you, like you're supposed
Yeah.
to be just growing up to be a woman, like you're still being exposed to and all of that. So like I like all these just like not fully formed ideas and feelings about that are still swarming in my head from reading this, because there's
Mm.
so much of that in these women. I mean, it's like the late 1700s, right? There's like a lot of the authors that are influencing Jane Austen or her contemporaries. So you're talking about
Mm.
like George in England, you're talking about the Regency, you're talking about, you know, older time periods. um but like I don't, I just like it's like I don't want to be like, oh, education's not important, like formal education isn't important, but I do
Right.
think that there is this like side channel of like self-directed education, like the Goodwill Hunting of it all, right? Like
Yes. Absolutely.
you can sort of on the sidelines, if you don't have access to those other more formalized institutional things, as long as you have access to books and ideas and um, you can you can become a great writer, you can become a great thinker, you can become like articulate,
Yeah.
well educated, like all those things. There's this sideline. And I just found that like a really interesting through line,
Yeah.
like under the surface of these women, and then it keeps going. I feel like for generations,
Yeah.
and you can see it not just I think
True.
in like women, but you can see it in anybody who didn't have access to formalized education, right? So if like you're not a
Yeah.
white man, right, you can
Right.
have this side channel. This just happens to follow a bunch of women, so like
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, so I don't know. It's like this like thing that like beats around in my head, but I just think it's really interesting. And like when you combine it with things like Wolf's Room of One's Own, and then even like maybe even like a Lolly Willows, and like there's like just so much of like this. I don't know, and I see it more and more online now. Like, and I don't know
Hmm.
if it's algorithmic or just there's like a wave of self learning that is kind of coming up in in like sort of the YouTubey sort of space, this idea of maybe you don't have access to it, maybe you can't afford it, maybe they're taking it away, but you can still learn as long as you have access to certain resources, being like books and ideas,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, that's how my father learned. He didn't go to college, although
Yeah.
his great grandfather went all
Hmm.
the way. Chancellor Williams, Dr. Chancellor
Hmm.
Williams, he went all the way. Former educated at many universities, wrote historical books, but my dad was just a self learner, and
Hmm.
I have a lot of his writings. But he had a very inquisitive, curious mind, though.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
wasn't
there's
lazy about educating himself.
I mean, I think there's certain things that maybe have to be in place. Like you have to already have a curiosity. You have to have access to things.
Yes.
Um, you have to have some sort of support system, something that isn't actively fighting against
Yes.
your acquisition of knowledge, right?
So true. That's
Though
so true. And he had access. That's correct.
for some people, I think maybe that becomes if you have somebody fighting against your access, that might spur you on. But I think for the most part, you need to have some freedom, right?
That's true. That's
To
true.
continue to be inquisitive. So yeah, I just
That sounds
I
very
really enjoyed this. I
interesting.
think that this is just a really fascinating way to look at Jane Austen too, because like it doesn't look at Jane Austen. You're looking like from the like the sides, like you're looking
Yeah.
like in different directions, and the people that shape her. And I just think it's just a very interesting all around book. There's so many different things here. Some of these women, like I was like, I don't like you. Um, but then some of them were like absolutely fascinating, ballsy women who did some really amazing things that have been lost to like the sands of time or whatever. Like
Yeah.
they didn't get canonized like Jane Austen.
Right.
And then that's another thing that she's looking at is like who makes the canon and why. Um,
Mm.
who kind of falls out of the canon and all of
Yeah.
that. Like why is Jane Austen the one that we all read still? And I mean
Yeah.
my theory on like why is it Jane Austen and not like Frances Burney is that I think, or like Anne Radcliffe, I think it's because Jane Austen's writing is still accessible to a modern reader in a way that like Anne Radcliffe's more flowery writing is not. I think there's like a layer removed from that that's a little bit more accessible. And
Approachable. Yeah.
and I think that there's so like a Jane Austen novel is interesting because you could read something like Emma or Mansfield Park and just like be there for the love story of it all or the romance of it all, the who's going to end up with who. But there's also other things under the surface about like the slave trade, and like she does drop in things that are reflective of her opinions on the state of the world, but they're
Yeah.
so wrapped up in this romance that you don't see them until you start like breaking them down, until you start
Right.
understanding like the context of like what happened in Bristol, or like what do you mean like in Jamaica, like you really gotta like
Mm-hmm.
break stuff down. Like, why does this woman have such a large dowry? Maybe it's because but oh, they're just in trade. Okay, well, like what kind of trade? Like, so like there's things that aren't overt in
Yeah.
these stories that could give it depth, but the stuff that is overt is accessible.
Yes.
So I could talk
Mm.
about Jane Austen for like the rest of my life, so I'm gonna shut up so you can talk about a book. But I could just go on and on. So.
Oh, that's too funny. But that sounds really interesting. Also, I'm wondering, okay, is rare book dealing going to be Alyssa's third career? Because
I
why
don't
not?
need a third. I don't
Why
need a third
not?
career.
No, it's like after you retire from nursing, right?
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
go into rare book dealing. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you don't have to work now because you're retired, and now you just have fun with it.
Naomi, this is America. When am I gonna retire?
When you're effing 90. When you're 90.
Oh my god.
Oh,
They're probably gonna send me back to the bedside.
stop it. No.
Though I do miss bedside. But
I know you do. I know you do. This was not planned. It was all too soon. So, yeah,
I know. But it is
that's the sad
nice
part.
not being in so much pain. So that part
Correct.
is nice.
Correct. Absolutely. Correct.
Anyway. So
Yeah.
what do you have to recommend for us after I spoke for about 97 minutes?
Another Western. I finally read True Grit by Charles Portis, and I have this
Mm.
beautiful 50th anniversary edition. I found this book at McKay randomly, which was like, this book is in like brand new condition. I was so shocked. Anyway, now I see why people love this book so much. And what I'm going to do is read the very first paragraph because it sums up everything this book is about. Okay, it says, people do not give it credence that a 14-year-old girl could leave home and go off in the wintertime to avenge her father's blood, but it did not seem so strange then. Although I will say it did not happen every day. I was just 14 years of age when a coward going by the name of Tom Cheney shot my father down in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and robbed him of his life and his horse and $150 in cash money, plus 2 California gold pieces that he carried in his trouser band. That is the first paragraph, and it sets us up for what is part revenge story and part quest. This 14-year-old girl, she is looking for a man that has true grit to help her find the murderer of her father. And she gets with a guy named Rooster Cogburn, and he is the meanest available U.S. Marshal.
Meanest
And
available.
yeah, Rooster Cogburn. And this young girl and Rooster and another guy, I'm forgetting his name, they team up to, go through this town to find the man that murdered her father. And she's so whip smart and fearless, and I loved hearing her voice. You know what I mean? I loved everything about her. And I also thought the relationship that was building between her and Rooster was just so charming. Although in the beginning, Rooster and the other guy that they're with, they tried to ditch her because they didn't take her seriously. Because, I mean, come on, she's a kid. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
we can find this guy. We don't need this little kid tagging along. But once she caught up with her, which didn't take much because she's younger and faster and smarter, they realized this girl's got some grit of her own, and they kind of need her. And this little bond that they all formed, especially between her and Rooster, was just really charming and delightful to read. And it is one of those books where you are just in it. and
He's just
and
in
then
it.
all of a sudden you're at the end. You know what I mean? It was
Mm-hmm.
it was fantastic. So now I'm gonna watch both movies, the old one and the newer one that came out a few years ago. But again, reading this, I see why it's a favorite of many. Guess who else is a fan of this book? You won't guess. Donna Tartt, who did the afterword.
Ooh,
She did the afterword for this book.
interesting.
And this is the book that was kind of passed down through her family. They all loved this book. So it was really interesting just kind of hearing her perspective about it. And I also heard that she narrates the book. I might go back and read this book again via audiobook to hear her, to see how it sounds. But it's a great story. So now I've got to get more Charles Portis, which I will be looking for when we go to McKay, because they have a really good Western section. But this was so good, so delightful, so enjoyable. True Grit by Charles Portis.
I will say that if it's anything like the Secret History narration, I don't think you're going to enjoy Donna Tartt narrating the book.
Interesting.
But
interesting. Okay.
I mean, you can always sample it and see if you.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, for sure. Wow, yeah, that was a meaty episode.
That was a meatier episode. I did not expect to be on like two soapboxes here, Leonora Carrington and Jane Austen.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's gonna do it for us. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us everywhere at TBR Lowdown. We've got a couple more episodes to record, so we're on a time crunch here. Leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to our podcast on YouTube at TBR Lowdown. Visit our website, tbrlowdown.com. Learn about our annual book club picks and our annual reading challenge, and share with a friend. Yes. Share this podcast with a friend. We would greatly appreciate it. All right, that's going to do it for us. We got things to do. We're out of here. Bye.